Let's see. Oh, so you can see it on here. All right, y'all. So I'm doing something a little bit different today. And I am going live on two platforms on my YouTube and I'm going live on my TikTok. So I wanted to come on and talk about some current astrological stuff that's going on that you may be feeling the effects of. I know I have been trying to ride the wave of all of this energy because it is a lot of like the energy is always a lot of chaotic, like transformative energy. So it's not, it's intended to be like an accelerant, right? This energy is not like, if you think about Leo energy, Leo is ruled by the sun, and so the sun is in Leo right now, and then we're in the Lion's Gate. How you doing? Good afternoon. And we're in the Lion's Gate right now, even though the apex of the Lion's Gate is going to be on 8 August 8th, which I'll talk about that in a little bit. But we're in that, the energy is starting to build and we're starting to feel the effects of that particular energy right now. So the energy of Leo is like an activating type of energy. It's the type of energy. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've been dealing with a lot of like Sekhmet and a lot of Oshun energy lately. It's like they had to come together to kind of like temper and counterbalance the energy because I'm already a fire sign. So me taking on a lot of Sekhmet energy with the watery kind of cooling energy of Oshun can make me real fiery. So I've been kind of dealing with both of the energies. I've noticed they've both been kind of coming through lately as I'm channeling. I'm intentionally channeling Sekhmet's energy, but I've been feeling Oshun energy along with it all the way around. Even when it came to me going to the nail shop today and picking out my nail color, I was thinking more like red, but then Oshun came through and she was like, no, do like a pretty coral. Because, she likes oranges, corals, yellow, golds, those kind of colors. So I went in a little bit of different direction. And I needed to because the best way to deal with this type of energy, I have found, as I am a person that is sensitive to energy, is to temper it. I think of the temperance card in the zodiac. I mean, not in the zodiac, in the tarot deck, which is the Sagittarius card. Oops, and this is the card right here meant for me to talk about it. I didn't even know it was going to be the one on the bottom, but I think it came out in one of my most recent readings that I did. But the temperance card is about harmonizing energies. It is about using energies that are seeming to be, I wouldn't say opposite, but energies that are not in, I guess you could say what seems to be in harmonious energies. I'll give you an example: fire and water, right? Because what will happen? Fire is not necessarily the friend. Water is not necessarily the friend to fire unless you're trying to put one out. Now, of course, then you want all the water in the world, right? Because it's going to put it out. So the temperance, the alchemy of it, right? How you transmute energy, especially during a time when we've been bombarded by so much energy and it can feel chaotic a little bit, is through temperance, harmonizing what seems to be energies that are not complementary to each other. In other words, one doesn't support the existence of the other. One actually kind of takes away the effectiveness of the other. But sometimes we need that because sometimes that fire can start burning too hot, and channeling Sekhmet or just dealing with a lot of fiery type of energy, hot energy, or dealing with the element of fire purely, we can run hot. We can give over to anger and to just the excessive imbalances of fire, and so to harmonize them so that they work better together is sometimes to bring in the element of water to temper, to harmonize, to make it more, I don't want to say palatable, but make it more easily consumable, right? Because that fire can come through and it can be aggressive, And I noticed my energy, my temperament lately has been a little bit more aggressive, you know what I'm saying? And it is channeling that fiery energy. So that's a tip to y'all. Try to balance out some of this fiery, hot energy that's coming through with all this Leo energy. And then we got Ceres, which is in alignment with Leo right now. We have Jupiter, which is Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And so it's also in Leo. So all that higher, hot kind of temperamental energy, we want to balance it by calling in, you know, a little bit of a water, you know, a little bit of watery energy. Okay. So I wanted to come on and talk about what's going on astrologically and why does it feel like this? Why does it feel like this, like kind of chaotic, unstable energy? Is because a lot of things are going on astrologically. The Lion's Gate is a time, first of all, there's a lot of light codes, a lot of high vibratory energy coming down from Sirius during this time. And if you are not prepared, if your vessel is not prepared to receive high vibrational energy, it can be disruptive to you. It can make you feel very uncomfortable. And a lot of times, one of the reasons that people are not able to receive higher vibrational energy is because there are certain energetic blockages, disruptions going on within them, and they're vibrating lower. So what that high vibrational energy does first is it helps to purge. But that pressure that's put on us, it doesn't ask you to purge. It sort of forces you to purge. And for some people, like I heard that there was a guy at the In-N-Out somewhere, just went and shot up a bunch of people, went into the In-N-Out restaurant just seemingly randomly and just shot up some people, killed like 3 people, and then I think killed himself or something like that. Like, what I mean about forcing stuff to come out. A lot of us are carrying energy. We're carrying trauma, pain, wounds, whether they're psychological, whether they're spiritual, whether they're emotional, and oftentimes they're a combination of all of those things. And when we start going through cycles where the universe is sending down energy that catalyzes us into purging, releasing, some of us have a lot of pent up aggression, a lot of anger, a lot of, things like that. And so it comes out sometimes in very destructive ways, okay, violent even ways. And remember, we're talking about the energy of fire. Fire purifies, but fire also activates, you know what I'm saying? And the way that fire purifies, okay, it's not the same way that water does. And water can be dangerous too as well, right? Too much water, okay, or that hurricane that comes through with the water, okay? So any element in severity and excess can be dangerous, right? It's about balancing these energies, creating alchemy in doing so, right? So Chiron, which is, and it's considered a centaur type of planet. It's not a planet. Is they were calling it an asteroid, but it's not really an asteroid. They have labeled it a centaur. Okay. And so Chiron is known as the wounded healer. If you look in your natal chart, Chiron shows where there is hidden, concealed wounds that you are carrying. Okay. Oftentimes, these wounds were inherited. You inherited from your parents, from your grandparents. Okay. Could even have some cultural aspects to it. So things that happen to groups of people within a culture, okay, this kind of trauma, okay. Some may call this, they are calling it now intergenerational trauma is another term that I hear thrown around, okay. Think of the scientific term epigenetics, okay. Epigenetics is the scientific term that talks about how our DNA, it doesn't change your DNA sequence. What it does is it changes how your DNA is expressed. It either turns on or turns off. With the term they use, wrapping or unwrapping your DNA sequences. So they turn off certain genes and turn on certain genes, okay? And this happens based on unhealed trauma that happens to somebody in the bloodline, and then that energy, that trauma, that DNA the changes in the DNA is then passed on to subsequent generations, and then they perceive it as a predisposition. You'll think, oh, well, diabetes run in our family, or high blood pressure, or cancer runs in the family, or mental illness, or you have your family where there's a lot of people, seem like everybody going to jail, or poverty, generational trauma, things you will see that's not just one person in the bloodline having that experience, but multiple people generationally experiencing trauma. This is the scientific term, but Chiron is the astrological thing that we will look at our chart to help us understand the nature of that type of trauma, right? What we inherited. Now, Chiron basically is the child of Kronos and Philaria. Philaria was a water nymph. Kronos was a shapeshifter, and he shapeshifted into a horse, a stallion, impregnated Chiron's mother, the water nymph. And when she gave birth to Chiron, she was appalled because he was half horse, half human, a centaur. And to her, it was a deformity. It was an abnormality. And so there's different versions of these mythologies, just like there's different versions of mythologies of other cultures. And so one version says that she abandoned him on this mountain, and that he spent so much time in darkness on this mountain by himself that he learned to heal his own inner darkness, his own inner wounds. There's another version that says Apollo, the god of light, comes and I guess shines light, teaches him the arts and archery and healing and all these different things. And that is how he was healed. And, there's this version that says that he was shot by the arrow. You to co-host. Oh, no, we're not going to be doing that. I don't even know who that is. It's a weird person trying to co-host me. I don't even know who it is. I'm not going to do that. So anyway. So no matter which version of it you look at, Chiron, I was talking about how he was shot by the arrow. And so it's like he carries this wound that he's never able to heal himself. And Chiron represents a wound, but there's a positive aspect to Chiron. As you address and heal the wound, Chiron then gives you a skill and ability, right? That you're able to then help other people, okay? Help others heal similar wounds, address similar issues. You develop a skill, an ability, a strength through overcoming what you inherited through Chiron. In other words, for instance, someone who may have inherited, this is the same person who did inherit diabetes, and that triggered them to want to be a healer. And then they begin to come up with other treatments for diabetes and begin to heal that, and begin to heal the spiritual issues that lead to how people have a family history of, or maybe they had cancer or something. Let me just give you an example of how a Chiron wound then becomes an ability, a skill, something that you offer, that taking those lemons and make it into lemonade, something that that becomes useful to you as a skill and a tool as you overcome, address it, and integrate the lessons that you learn also along the way. So Chiron has gone retrograde. And it's gone retrograde in the sign of Taurus. Now, Taurus, it rules the throat. It rules the neck, okay? And Taurus also rules the second house. The second house in astrology is the house that says, and I'm going to use my little board. Y'all see, I bought my board up here. If you're watching me on TikTok, you can't see the board. Sorry. But so Chiron, his little symbol look like this. And y'all know I can't draw, so don't be mad at me. And that's Taurus. Okay, so Chiron is in Taurus right now. Okay, and it's retrograde. So Taurus rules the second house. The second house says, I am. I'm sorry, not am. That's the first house. I own, and I value. I own and I value. So it represents what you own and what you value. And it also represents self-value as well. Okay. And your values, like what you find to be important to you. Okay. What's important to you? What do you value? What are your values? What are your ethics? What are your beliefs? What do you stand for? Okay. Second house. How do you feel you are valued? okay, on a collective level, on a more theoretical level. And it represents also, let's not forget, physical assets, okay, land, property, jewelry, things of wealth. Taurus rules the physical plane, okay. And remember, I told you Chiron in Taurus is going to continue a process of, well, for some it's going to be a reverse of fortune, okay, but what it really is the meek inheriting the earth, okay. It really is a generational exchange of wealth, a redirecting of wealth to the rightful owners, okay. Now these people and these entities and energies that rule us, we can't say that they haven't been savvy, we can't say that they haven't been creative, and we can't say that they haven't been resilient, because they have done a lot of things to make it difficult for people to even recognize or to even understand that there is something that they should have inherited in the first place. I remember many years ago in my late 20s, I met this guy named Sun, and he was one of the first people who confirmed to me what I was feeling and what I was picking up from spirit, that there were some things that my bloodline specifically was old. And as I began to speak with him, I began to realize that it wasn't just my bloodline, that there were other people, that this wasn't just an isolated event, that this was a well orchestrated thing that has been done in not keeping accurate record of things, and not having stories being told and passed down in bloodlines in the way that it should have been, so that the people who are meant to be the rightful inheritance of these, not just land, and some of it is land, some of it is physical wealth, okay, actual wealth, actual land, but also there is also a component of it that is energetic, that is spiritual, that is a certain amount of power. The reason that these bloodlines had wealth, had land, is because of spiritual power. It really reminds me, and I haven't seen this movie yet. None of us have seen it yet because it's not out. And maybe I should get the book and read it before going to see the movie, The Children of Blood and Bones. But looking at the trailers, it very much so, the premise of the movie very much so is reflective of what happened to a group of people, of souls, and people who are, again, intended to inherit certain things based on bloodline, based on birthright, okay, and also based on these things even being prophesized, okay. But just because something is meant to happen and something is prophesized doesn't mean that the people, that this power in this land, subsequently, because you think if one group of people are receiving land and power, is probably disempowering somebody else, those who wrongfully sit in those seats, those who wrongfully sit on that land, those who wrongfully reap the benefits and those rights, and their descendants have benefited from those rights, okay. But this is a spiritual thing, okay. They had, and they were in power because of spiritual power, because of things that were innate to those bloodlines, okay, certain abilities, certain powers. And I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of other stuff that's connected to it, but anyway, in order to receive the inheritance, in order to receive it and for your descendants to receive, because this is intended to be generational wealth. Some of us are really and truly intended to receive generational wealth in this lifetime. And some people, you can see it in their aura, you can see it in their charts that they're meant to inherit certain things. And if you want somebody to look at your chart and see if you are one of those people and maybe what you need to do, because oftentimes, it's not just going to fall into your lap, and it's not going to just fall into our laps or these people's laps, but this retrograde is going to highlight certain things, and it's going to also trigger certain wounds, certain things that maybe you thought you had already healed, certain things that maybe you thought you had already overcame, okay, or you thought that your bloodline had already overcame, but something triggers it because there's still some remnants. And this is what's blocking us from achieving the level of wealth and prosperity that we are intended to have in this lifetime. Okay, again, there are people that sit, what is it in the Bible? We fight not We fight against wickedness and evilness in high places, okay, against municipalities. Okay, so you have to over and understand what you're dealing with here. Okay, and a lot of people spent a lot of time, and I remember Bobby Hemmett giving a little bit of wisdom in the middle of it all. A lot of people who went into that more science stuff and did all their paperwork and, thought they was going to get their $2 million. I knew a guy who connected me with some of these people. And, he was he wasn't wrong to believe that he was owed something or that something was to be inherited. But the way that he thought that he could go about getting it just by finding out this stuff, reading these books, going to filing these paperwork, your UCC this and, all of this, that, and the other. And, that was going to get you this black card and it was going to get you this money. And, you was going to have a good out of jail free card whenever the police bothered you, and you can go in and out of court and do what you wanted to do and, go buy stuff and never pay for it, needless to say, that did not happen. Okay, that was not the reality of it. And the people who were dealing with the paperwork and dealing with those things and getting some benefit financially and getting some benefit in court, that should eventually fell through. Okay, because of the way that they were trying to deal with it. Okay, and it fell through in a really big and bad way. Like people went to jail, did Fed time. It was. It definitely did not go the way that they thought that it was going to go because they weren't stepping into their power in the way that they needed to. They thought they needed to stand in their power politically, legally. And that is only one step. If you're not in your power and your sovereignty in spirit, then all that paperwork don't mean shit. Okay. You can be right. How many times have people gone into court and been right and still not get remedy to their situation? Not get a justice, equitable remedy to their situations. A lot of times, especially Black people in court. Come on, it's they're notorious for us not getting justice. You can be right, dead right, and still not get the justice that you seek. Okay, so you have to go over their heads. You have to assert your sovereignty, assert your freedom, assert and have your power and independence in the spirit world, and then all that paperwork will fall. It will have the force of power behind it that it needs. Just like in law, for a law, it has to have an enabling clause. There has to be, when they come up and they do these, for instance, okay, when you think of our Bill of Rights, okay, our Bill of Rights has an enabling clause. There is another older body of law that enables this body of law to be enacted. Okay, it has to stand on something. Your political legal assertions that you're making at law has to have something spiritual backing it for it to stand on. Understand that the opponent and the people are in power that do hold your land, that do hold your power, are operating from this way. Not the people that you think, but the power is up higher than that. Okay, you got it. Oftentimes we're dealing with the manifestation of a problem and not the root of it. Okay. So this is the root of it. Looking at the root of it is this generational trauma, these generational wounds. And Chiron in retrograde is going to be triggering and highlighting, and it's going to be time for us to address those. So I myself personally have already been dealing with it because I'm having a Chiron return. My Chiron is in Taurus. Okay. Taurus rules the throat. So you may even have issues with your throat. Okay. Your thyroid, your hormones, anything dealing with the throat. Okay. Can I please do an esoteric reading on Nolan Wells and why they chose him to be sacrificed? Oh Lord, you have to bring this up. Okay. So I have kind of looked at the situation. As you can see, I'm a notebook person. Okay. So I have a notebook full of stuff. I don't always share everything that I look at and everything that I analyze, but I did kind of go over his energy and what I felt. I'm trying to see because I wrote some of this down in here because me, the first thing I look at is a person's astrology. Okay, and I do remember just roughly he's a Leo. Okay, he was a Leo and he was 18. Now, we have to understand that based on where he was near water. Okay. Mercury was retrograde in Cancer at that time, right? So Mercury is trickster energy. Okay. Mercury is the trickster. So you can already say right there that there was some trickery, some treachery, some maybe even deceptive things going on, especially with that Cancerian energy. And he did, and something did happen. He was found what? Near water. Okay. So you can see the astrology in that. Being that he was Leo, Leo is source energy, right? And this happened right ahead of the Lion's Gate. Remember, these energies begin to manifest, or the gateways, the portals open before the date. So this is a date, a portal open. Okay. Now Leo represents what? It represents leadership, it represents rulership, it represents also royalty. Okay. Now him being 18, 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 is a cycle of completion. So he was going through a karmic cycle of completion. Now, this happening ahead of his birthday during that retrograde, I personally felt like his soul, this was something connected more to his bloodline and not just to him as an individual. Okay. When I looked at his natal chart, and I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head what stood out, because I must have wrote it in one of my other books. I do have one other notebook, and I'm thinking I must have wrote it in that one, because I'm like, I don't see it written here. But what I do remember also, oh no, this might be it right here. Let me see. Because here's some birthdays. Yeah, too. So he had an Aquarius. I believe no. His Mercury was in Virgo. His Mercury was in Virgo. And I thought to him, that reminded me of somebody who's highly intelligent. And when you listen to what some of they were saying about him, like he had these friends and that he was like hiding an aspect of like hazing and hiding an aspect of like what we would call racial trauma, you know, that was happening to him at this school or whatever. But what I felt from him was his soul was one of those indigo children, okay? A soul that was intended to do more, okay? And I also feel that he wasn't supposed to go on that trip. He wasn't supposed to go on that trip, is what I'm feeling as I'm kind of even going into the energy. It's like a grandmother energy or somebody energy over it. And like, he wasn't supposed to have gone on that trip. He was supposed to have been the person in the bloodline to be able to receive. And this is what is happening to certain people who are in positions to be the inheritors of power within the bloodline. I hate to say it, but oftentimes these entities that work through people already know when you come through the Stargate, when you're born, they watching you. Okay. And it's done through oftentimes through secret societies too. Okay. How these entities will organize people together. Okay. And it'll be through some of these secret societies. I'm really feeling that with this person, Nolan, that this was more orchestrated spiritually than obviously the police will ever admit to, or that the people that I hear all these like different psychics and people talking about it. When these secret societies, and when there's even people who are renegades that create their own little covens and their own little factions and what have you, and they do their rituals and their offerings to their deities and whatnot. Okay. One thing that I've noticed that has happened, people that are in line to receive this is no different than like the evil, kings and queens back in the day. All those kings and queens didn't take throne because they were the rightful heir. Sometimes they knocked off the cousin and the uncle and the other person that was supposed to reign so that they could take the seat. Okay. Well, these factions, these energies, like I was saying, they are creative, they are resourceful, and they have been resilient. And so oftentimes it reminds me of Bob Marley's songs where it says, kill them before they can grow. Like getting them before they can even receive it. Okay. And so these people need a lot of protection around them. Okay. They do. These people are supposed to be protected more. And the protection that they need is not what people think, oh, don't go out and get your guns and get arms and all of that, because that's going to mean nothing in some of these situations, the way that they take you out. Okay. By using spirit, by doing these rituals and offerings. Okay. And believe me, if you are not covered during those times, if your mama ain't protecting you, and I guess he was a youth, so definitely, my children are, pretty much all grown, except for my youngest. But that means nothing to me. I'm going to protect them till even when I'm gone. Okay, period. That's what a mother does. So when I do my protective stuff for myself, I do protective things for myself, protective rituals for my children. I'm always covering them because I understand how this world works. Okay. And if you are on a certain frequency, oh baby, it's like they can almost at certain times play a certain frequency. Bobby Hidman used to talk about it, how in different different places they'll put up these little frequencies and put up these different colored lights, and they understand this technology that you can incite violence, you can incite sickness, you can, based on whatever frequency that you're putting out at that time. So believe me, they have mastered some of this stuff. So you really have to cover yourself and cover your children. And he was someone that should have been covered. He is someone that should have been protected. Because of bloodline and because of what he was here to do. He was here to break some things generationally within his bloodline. And that stuff runs deep. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say to you. It runs really deep in these bloodlines. And especially when you start talking about stuff that's deep in the South, when we're talking about land rights and ownership of land, and how generationally people have been disenfranchised from different things. I'll give you an example of my family and how, like for instance, my Chiron is in Taurus, right? Chiron is in Taurus. Now this young man, obviously his Chiron is probably not in Taurus, but this happened during a time when Chiron is in Taurus, where there is supposed to be this righting of ancient wrongs. Okay. But it doesn't mean that this doesn't happen without battle, without bloodshed, without people opposing you and not wanting it to happen. Okay. Because this runs deep. We're not fighting against people thinking, oh, I just got to go after the clan. And even the clan, think about it. Once you really look at it, it was a Masonic organization that dealt with spiritual sciences. This is what people miss. They're burning crosses in the grass with these white sheets and things. That is very ceremonial. Okay. They're sacrificing people even in some of these things that they're doing. Like seriously, they were feeding entities and demonic forces. Okay. Albert Pike, the head of the Ku Klux Klan, was also a 33rd degree Mason. Okay. Master Mason. So please over and understand that these things overlap, especially at the higher realms. They overlap. This is how these people were able to maintain their brutality, their rule of brutality for so long. In places like Mississippi, Alabama, like I was saying, my family, for instance, in the South, they were so bad about not giving people land rights or mineral rights. They at one point have found a lot of oil in the area where my family is from, my mother and father is from. And they would not pay the Black people for oil that they found on their land. They would not even sell them mineral rights, would not give them mineral rights. And if they had mineral rights, they would lie to them and say that the oil didn't come off their land and disenfranchise the whole generation. It was a lot of money, especially in like the late, I want to say the late, well, not really 70s, the late 80s, early 90s. Okay, when I moved to Alabama and lived with my uncle, and I think it was like 93-ish. Okay, I remember still seeing oil daggers on the lands, on some of the land down there. They were still pulling up oil down there. My spirits and my ancestors say that there's still oil on some of the land down there. And their intention to let what has been happening for generations, for the people who really supposed to inherit the land and really supposed to inherit the benefits of the land. So we got a lot to do, y'all. This does not happen. If you want your children and children's children to inherit what they're supposed to have, and because we do often reincarnate through the same bloodline, please remember that what you fixing in your bloodline, you will benefit from, because more than likely some of y'all coming back through the same bloodlines. Okay, so it's not like you fixing something that you ain't gonna come back to. Some of these wealthy families, I want to say it's the DuPonts, they have a tradition of knowing and getting readings and knowing who then came back, so they know who they should have let inherit money, that they actually go and get readings and look at astrology and charts to find out, okay, who's returned. In Ifa, they call it Baba Tunde, Ayana Tunde, father return, mother return, that we reincarnate, that you will give birth to your children, will give birth maybe even to you. Your grandchildren may give birth to you. Seriously, this is really what happens. I truly feel that my grandbaby incarnation of my great grandfather. I believe that. He is so charismatic, though. We know he's been here before. He is so charismatic, and I protect him now even. Okay, so if you have children, y'all gotta get their protection of it. This chaotic energy, with this type of energy, with their spiritual warfare going on out here, y'all. Okay, if you haven't noticed it. And the warfare is high at this time, okay? Because there are certain, and I'll put it this way, there are certain forces that have been able to inherit and inhabit the earth plane that is no longer being able to do so, but are not just walking off and leaving. Okay, they want things to stay the way that they are, so that they can inhabit this plane and so that they can stay in power. And there is a battle going on. Okay, even things that were taken out of the Bible talk about, the battle in heaven, the spiritual battle, the spiritual war. If you don't realize and recognize, a lot of you, this is what you've been dealing with, different levels of spiritual warfare. Okay, that's really been going on. So let's not get off topic talking about the young man. So let's go back to the eclipses. So after let's go to the Lion's Gate. So this Lion's Gate, I feel, is going to be even more potent. Even more potent. Looking at the numerology, because this Lion's Gate happens on 8. So 2026 comes to 8. Well, this comes to 8. And then we add 2. So we bring it to 10. So that comes to 1. We add that comes 16. You add 1, you get 17. You add 1 plus 7, you get 8. Do you see how many 8s are encoded in the apex of this Lion's Gate? 8, 8, 8, and then you add all the numbers together, and then you get 8 again. So that's 8 4 times. 8, 8, 8, and then add it together, and you get the fourth 8. Okay, so to me, that is to me showing an amplification of energy. Then just after this Lion's Gate, there is an eclipse that we're getting ready to have on the 12th. And this eclipse is a part of what's called a Sorrow series. Sorrow series. Okay, Sorrow series. And so basically, a Sorrow series is a series of eclipses that happen in pairs and in patterns. So basically, every 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours, you have an eclipse that basically takes the same path and starts around the same lunar node. And so those begin to pair up. And you can kind of tell based on previous times that same path, that the eclipse took the same path before, what may happen as it does this again. Now, the last time that the eclipse took this path was somewhere between July, August of 2028 and July, August of 1990. Okay, so if you've been around long enough, and most of you have, think about what may have happened then. So this particular eclipse, and this sorrow series, it may help you to get clarity on some things where you may have been stuck in something, or you may have had a lot of like fog around a situation where you couldn't see things clearly, or you didn't know what the solution to a problem was, or something difficult. With this eclipse, now, just because it's an eclipses come in and they often shift things dramatically, so expect a shift along with this. And this is happening during this Lion's Gate, which is already amplifying energy. So expect a lot of revelations, a lot of activation. This is going to be affecting the heart chakra a lot and the solar plexus chakra a lot, based on it being Leo, and Leo rules the heart and also the solar plexus area. So you want to work with those chakras a lot. You want to work to clear those chakras. You may become aware of blockages. This may also affect your energy level. If you're getting, a lot of times when you're receiving a lot of downloads and you're going through a lot of activation where you are purifying and releasing a lot of stuff, you may feel fatigued. You may feel tired sometimes. So you want to just rest. If you need to try to nurture yourself more during this time, go get you a massage, go get your acupuncture, do your cleansing, doing your Reiki, do your cleansing, your removal work, if you're a big girl, do your reversals and your curse breaking work. This is very good energy to break, release, remove, transmute, generational stuff. Okay, anything like that. Now, this 888 is going to be a real good day for manifestation. If you know anything about the number 8 is good for manifestation. 8 is not just the number 8. When you look at 8 is actually the infinity symbol. When you take 8, and the infinity symbol represents energy is neither created or destroyed, is only transmuted. So it represents that energy is not lost. I built my business off of the number 8. Enchanted Divas, I spelled it the way that I did because it comes to the number 8. Okay. I did my paperwork on a day that came to the number 8, because 8 is wealth, and 8 would also, my business would be self-sustaining with 8, right? It would be able to sustain itself with that 8 infinity symbol energy. I love the infinity symbol. I work with that symbol a lot, even when I do my spell work and energy work. There's power in that symbol. This is how they rule us, and we don't understand the power of symbology, and we don't understand how to use that symbology. Your logo is really a sigil, a magical sigil. And some of the most powerful businesses know that. Nike, Procter and Gamble, a lot of them have logos that are based off something connected to some type of mythology, some god, some goddess. The symbols have power within them. This is why they use them. This is why they use them in their logos and different things. And this is why you see them on different buildings, and you see them used in different political offices, and in different reasons. People use symbols and create logos and trademarks, but understand the magic in that when you use it with intention, when you create with intention, when you choose these symbols and these logos. Okay, important. All right, so I took my cards out because I just wanted to give a collective message. Let me see. I'm going to burn a little bit of seagrass. And there's another eclipse coming August 28th. I believe it's the 28th. I have to go look at my paper. It's either the 27th or the 28th. And that's a lunar eclipse, and it's going to be in Pisces. So we got a pair. Eclipses come in pairs, the solar and then lunar. They come back to back. They come in pairs. Okay. So we got the Leo energy, and then we got that Piscean energy. Okay. And that one, Live restrictions for some audience. Your live contains themes that some may find uncomfortable and has been restricted. Reason regulated goods and services. Oh hell, I don't got time for I don't got time for TikTok. What regulated goods am I selling? I'll let my sweet grass name restricted my video. I don't got time. Child, I don't got time for TikTok. So I'm just gonna pull a couple cards here. I've already cleansed my cards. What is the message for the collective? So this is actually my goddess deck. And the one who made this has an Oshun deck that I want to get to. I haven't bought any tarot decks in a while. What is the collective message for the collective? What do you need to know for their race? The highest good. What is the energy of this next 30 days? Lord, it's a lot. Okay, I'll shuffle one more time. All right. Y'all. We got a little something going on here, but we got some good, but it'll be a mixed pot. We got a little bad here. Okay, so we got Mojadi manifestation. Okay. So there may be a lot of storms coming up. Okay. We are coming up into hurricane season. So you can interpret this two ways. There may be a lot of actual storms, but this also talks about the power to manifest. Okay. You see how she's like in the water, but then there's like the clouds, there's like the elements, the angry. It looks like the cloud is angry a little bit, even a little fiery. Okay. But this talks about manifestation. Okay, and so this energy is going to be a lot of powerful energy for manifesting, but there's going to be a lot of chaotic energy. Okay, this kind of energy you can shape and use it is very high electrifying energy, and you can see it's coming down from the heavens, almost like it's being rained down. You know what I mean? Like the energy from Saturn, the energy, this transformative energy that's kind of coming through. But if you know how to use this, you can manifest a lot with this energy. Oh, we even got Oshun that came out. Didn't I tell you? I said I felt Oshun's energy today around me. And here's her card here. So the energy of Oshun is present. So we're talking about love. We're talking about sensuality, flow, that healing energy. Okay. Tap into it, y'all. Get into it. Use Oshun's energy to help to temper and to balance some of the heaviness of what is manifesting. Okay. And we know her feast day is going to be coming up soon too. A little bit just outside of the next 30 days. Okay. But her feast day is coming up in September. So acknowledge that. Okay. Her presence is here. So her soothing the divine energy of divine love and the divine feminine energy. Okay. Being able to embody that energy. Go spend time by the river. If you don't have a river, you got a lake or a little pond or a little stream. You ain't got that. Go spend time in the bath. Okay. Get in the water. Get close to the water, help you to temper and to balance this energy that is present. Now we got the betrayal here. We got Aunt Nancy here. We got some betrayal energy. Now, what was I telling you guys about these, the evil and wickedness in high places that we got to deal with? Okay, so this betrayal, these hateful, negative energy that is trying to oppose you. Remember, deal with the root of the problem, not the manifestation. Some of us be dealing with the manifestation of the problem and not the root, and that's why you're always dealing with shit. We got to really get to the root of our problems, okay? But yes, there has been some betrayal that has occurred, but this is ancient, okay? This level of betrayal, what I'm feeling from this card, they're not talking about, your homegirl, fuck your man type shit. No, we're talking about some ancient wrongs that have to be righted. Okay, let's keep this into perspective here, people. Okay, And I touched on those ancient wrongs in this video. So if you didn't hear it, go back. Okay, I'm going to pull from this deck, and then I'm going to pull 3 from my Rider deck, and then I'm going to get up out of here. So I just wanted to try to spend a little bit of time on here. I felt like, you know, I had a message I needed to give y'all. Which deck is this one? Hoodoo Tarot deck, y'all. I thought I had lost this deck. I thought somebody had took it because I have somebody who used to steal my tarot cards from me. But I had it in my storage unit. I was happy to see it when I went looking through some of my cards. But I was going to have to rebuy it again because I really liked it. And I was really starting to really connect with it. And then it just kind of, I was like, damn, where my deck go? Okay. The 9 of Baskets, which I feel will be the 9 of Pentacles. It was reversed. And then we've got the Black Hermit card, which is the Magician card in this deck. And then we got the 6 of Knives, which is the 6 of Swords. Okay, so the 9 of Baskets over the Manifestation card is talking about, again, a lot of manifestations. This would be like the 9 of Pentacles. So the 9 of Pentacles is about being able to manifest things with your own abilities, being very self-sufficient. Some of you are going to be able to manifest a lot of money within this cycle, or you're going to plant the seeds that are going to manifest into later large manifestations of wealth and prosperity. For others of you, this just may be bringing into physical manifestation a lot of desires, wishes, and things that you have been working on. So things coming from the spirit realm and manifesting in the physical. So this is going to manifest for different people, slightly different. Take what applies to you. Eat the, take the meat, leave the bone, right? So the Hermit card right here over the Oshun card, the Black Hermit card, and there's a drum. Like he's standing in front of like this drum, getting ready to beat the drum. Oh, sorry, y'all. I'm on my laptop that I just got, and I clicked on something. I couldn't see you. So anyway, the Magician card talks about your power, being in your power, working with the elements. Remember what I was saying? The magician is the master of knowing how to work with the 4 elements and knowing how to create with them. So this is saying like step into your power as the alchemist, okay? And stepping into your divine feminine power, understanding how to work with this energy, how to channel this Oshun, I would call it a Venetian loving, feminine energy, and how to use that power. Okay, so this is about standing in your power in that energy, as the alchemist, as the witch, as the high priestess, whatever you want to call yourself. Okay, a person, the spiritualist, whatever you want to call yourself, your spiritual power, working with the elements. Okay, and they're saying especially the element of water. Okay, the 6 of Knives or the 6 of Swords, okay, which is saying that yes, we're going to be able to get over this betrayal, but it's going to be painful. Okay, this process of getting over this, moving past that, moving into a happier, more harmonious, less chaotic, it is because of this ancient wrong that we have been suffering through a lot of things in life. Okay, but this card often talks about things getting better, you know what I'm saying, but it being a maybe somewhat painful transition at times. Okay, just got to keep it real with y'all. So, I'm gonna pull 3 more cards and then I'm gonna wrap it up, y'all. All right, let's cut the deck. I gotta figure out what's for dinner today. Surprised Marion came up here and told me he was hungry yet. It'll be soon though. Okay, so we got the 2 of Wands reverse, the Knight of Swords, and then the 2 of Swords. So for some of you, there's something big on the way. Okay, you can't see it yet. This talks about, expecting something. So some of you are expecting some things that you've been working on, and that shift will come in, that movement will happen. Some of you are going to be moving, or traveling, moving and or traveling as well too. Um, moving and or traveling, I feel, for a lot of people. Okay. And this is going to be sudden. This shift, this movement, these things, they're going to happen suddenly. Okay. Quickly even, and that's the energy right now. This energy is definitely high key. Okay. Two of Swords, saying that expect to make some type of decision. Okay. In the future, and if it could just be on what direction you're going to go in on certain things. Okay. Also, for some of you, there's a lack of clarity, and this is going to be a part of, maybe you can't see, or maybe you're not aware of some of the things that have happened within your bloodline. I'm feeling for some of you, you need to do some research. Okay. It's really time for you to do some genealogy and look at the cultural experiences and the political things that happened around, your ancestors, and start, taking that and connecting it with the spiritual things that you can also uncover through readings, through looking at your natal chart. Because I feel like, and this is for a very specific group of people, okay? But because of these ancient wrongs and this betrayal that happened within, I'm feeling within your bloodline, there's been so much suffering within the bloodline because of it, that as you uncover more of what happened, it's going to help you understand, and it's going to help you better resolve it. Okay. Better clear and transmute this stuff. Because there's some things that you have to get from different cultures. They're even showing me certain herbs and certain crystals that you need to get based on the type of trauma and what happened after. Okay. Understanding what happened is going to help you in choosing the right elements to help you transmute this energy and to help you right this wrong. For some of you too, there are certain spiritual allies that want to help you. Some of them you're already worked with. For some of you, there are some others that either are around you, trying to work with you, trying to get your attention, but you are not either responding and or aware. Okay, so that's just what I got for y'all. All right, so I'm about to get up off here. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Oh, and don't forget, I have brought back, because I get to the point where I don't want to do some of the work that I'm really best at, which is breaking curses, reversing work, breaking things, breaking spells. But that work is very heavy work. Okay. So I just have decided I can't do that all the time. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. I have saw a pattern in my clients and just in general, being a person who observes. Y'all need to uncross yourself. Okay. And this is something, I just want to say this. This type of work is not something that you should be waiting to do when your life is turned to shit and it's hell. Okay. This is a part of a regular spiritual maintenance that you should do, spiritual routine that you should have for yourself. Okay. Periodically doing uncrossing type of workings, cleansings, road openings. Okay. If you're watching me, you should be doing these types of things periodically. Okay. If you are in a life, if you're in a career path where you're around a lot of negative energy, which means if you're dealing healing, if you're dealing in the school systems, public schools, okay, I hate to say it, but the public schools, you deal with the public in any way, where a lot of different people coming in and out, in and out, in and out on a regular basis. If you are in the legal profession, law enforcement, certain things, if you're in a highly competitive profession and you're around a lot of sick people, around a lot of negativity, a lot of aggressive energy, you absorb that stuff. Okay. People pray against you, entities attached to you, people wish things on you, you know. Um, everybody's doing magic these days, and everybody is not Awu Pali. Everybody does not have good ethics. Everybody's not living in Mayan. Some people will do some very underhanded ass shit to get ahead, thinking that you're the problem. If they can just get you out the way, they could just get you under control. You don't know who's working on you. I'm promising you that. I have seen some things, and with technology, the way that it is, people can get access to your pictures and your likeness, and people do all kind of crazy shit out here. Okay, for real. You should be regularly uncrossing, cleansing, protecting. This should be a regular thing. And if depending upon your lifestyle, the career that you're in, okay, and what the environment of your life is at that time, you may need to do this more often than, let's just say, somebody else. I have to do this a lot more, obviously, because of what I do for a living. I deal with people who have problems, who have spiritual issues. Okay. Obviously, I have to have my protection, my cleansing, and my uncrossing at a higher level than, let's just say, someone who's not dealing with those things. Okay. But all being said, this is a part of regular spiritual maintenance. Some of you don't do this regularly. I don't know the last time y'all done uncrossed yourself, last time you didn't did a cleansing ritual, the last time you didn't even ran some sage over your head. Okay, and that's lightweight. That is not truly cleansing yourself. We need to really get deep in our bag, because it's some real spiritual shit going on out here. And the thing is, because there's so much proliferation of information about spirituality, about magic, yes, that's good, but it also comes with the negativity part. People can get a hold of stuff and start doing shit to you. Okay, easily. Somebody who, you know, ain't wrapped so tight, and you cut them off in their car, or you step on their foot, and now they did a death spell on your ass. So, you know, just ignorant shit. People really are out there like that, living like that. You know, they want the man you got, and they figure, I'm just gonna get rid of her to get him, you know, and they do a death spell on you, or, you know, curse you, and now all your hair falling out. I've seen that happen to people where all these things were going wrong in their life, and it was because somebody was working on them. Okay. So I've been noticing that people aren't necessarily doing the proper spiritual maintenance regularly as needed. And it's really one of the main reasons why the people that come to me need readings is because they hadn't been. And once I'm gonna tell you something, once you let your shit lax, trying to get it back together again, honey, it takes work and effort. Okay, I tell you, it takes work and effort. That's why I don't let my guard down. Okay, I know I got enemies. I know I live a high risk lifestyle based on what I do, but I'm truly in my purpose. But I can't do it for y'all all the time. So I'm bringing it back to the end of September. I've brought them back onto my website, so you can go to my website, make your purchase. But I will be removing them the end of September. Okay, because I need to help some of y'all out, because y'all got a little situations going on. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Peace.